Alrighty, welcome back to Inbound Unbound. I'm Hila Phillips, and today I'm thrilled to welcome back Justin Carey to the podcast. Unfortunately, remote this time. I mean, last time we were in person, which was nice. We kicked Josh out of his office, which is always fun. Um, Justin, for those who missed you the last episode that you were on, or just don't know you yet, can you give you a quick intro?
Yeah, for sure. Yes, my name is Justin. I am a growth consultant here at Protocol 80, which is just a fun way of saying sales guy. So I help get new clients for our agency, but I also assist with sales enablement for our clients as well. So whether they need help, smoothing out their sales process or creating sequences for, lead nurture or like trade show follow up or all kinds of different things there. I also assist with that. So kind of a two-headed approach to what I do, but all very much in the sales space.
Yeah, absolutely. And today we're going to be talking about fixing the follow up. So there's always a ton of leads wasted that get stuck in systems and just hanging out there. So today that's going to be primarily what we talk about. When I first heard the statistic that nearly 80% of leads are wasted, I was kind of taken aback because again, I'm more so on the marketing side and I'm like, oh, well, we're getting the leads.
You're right.
And we're driving the leads, and then you don't always think, hey, what happens next? So when we hear that statistic, what does this usually look like in the real world? Where are those leads actually getting lost from your experience?
Yeah. Yeah. From my perspective, it was also kind of jarring to be like 80%. Geez, that's kind of a lot. Um, so a big kind of factor in this happening is that there's only like one, maybe two follow-ups that are being done. Um, I saw a study recently that like Harvard Business School did on like sales follow-up, and it was a business professor there, and he was like asking his class like, all right, you got a new inbound lead, stand up, and everybody stand up, sit down whenever you would say you were done following up with this new lead. And it would be, he'd say like one, and everyone would still be standing. Two, everyone's standing. Four, people would start sitting down. 10, most of the class is down by that point. The research tends to show that like 17 is the right number.
Oh,
Um, so like that's where a lot of these are missing because reps aren't following up as much as they think they're following up as much as they think they need to, but not as much as they actually do need to.
mhm.
Because a lot of potential buyers, you know, they may be researching a service or a product, but it's not necessarily like an urgent need for now. But they had 15 dead minutes and they're like, hey, I'll look up this whatever. But that's not till like quarter two when we're gonna start shopping for it or whatever. So unless you're like staying top of mind there, that they're gonna forget about you. So if you only follow up 4 times in 2 weeks, yeah, by the time they're actually ready to buy, it's gone. Um, but then like another kind of thing is there's like not really like a clean kind of system in the CRM to make sure that those leads are assigned to the right people. Or there's not like a clean process in the CRM either of like here's what you do to get from a marketing qualified lead where they convert on your website to like an opportunity. Um, so yeah, those would be kind of first things.
Oh, that's huge. I think I'm even shocked to hear 17. Like that
That is
is
a
a
lot.
lot. It is a lot. And I think it's easy for people to kind of get, well, like I've reached out 4 times. I don't want to be annoying. I don't want to be, there's so much noise all the time everywhere. But that is why it needs to be 17 because people
Right.
will opt in and opt out based on their attention span, based on priority, based on whatever. But as long as they're still seeing that stuff with those follow-ups, are those true like sales follow-ups? Like, do you have any insights on like the best types of follow-up? But we might get into this a little bit
Yeah.
later on, but just
Yep.
top of mind, anything that's like, how do you stay original for 17 messages?
That's kind of that part is hard. I would say like mix it up as much as you possibly can. Like just sending somebody 17 emails is either asking for an unsubscribe or just getting sent to junk. So if you mix in phone calls, LinkedIn, um, one thing that's I learned about this at Inbound last year, but just doing just like short little like Loom recordings to like give that extra sense of like personalization to the outreach um goes a long way. At least in getting someone to click on your email. And then if you're replying in the thread, they'll see like, oh, this guy has emailed me 3 times about, in my context now, like, oh, we need marketing help. Um, so mix it up as much as you can. Um, but yeah, there's not like one clear thing, but also like some people just don't check their emails a lot. So like in my previous sales contexts, I was talking to shop floor managers, and they're not sitting at their computer for more than 15 minutes a day. Like they'll do whatever they need to in the ERP, but then they're out on the shop floor making sure nothing's burning down. So phone call was the best way to get a hold of them because they always had their cell phone on them.
Right.
So also like knowing who your buyers are goes a long way.
That's such a good point. I do forget that not everyone like me needs to have inbox zero by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like I am obsessive about it. I have
Yeah.
like a whole folders and stuff. But yes, no, that's a good point that there's different ways to reaching out. It's not, I feel like most often people are like, oh, follow up emails. And it's like, it's so much deeper than that. So that's such a good point. Why would you say follow-up is often the weakest link in an otherwise solid marketing and sales efforts? I know sometimes you said there's not really a process there, but for the ones that there
Mhm.
are, why is follow-up so hard?
Yeah. So this kind of goes back to that 17 touch thing, where, from our perspective and the way that we set up our clients, we are inbound marketing, like making sure you have enough content out there for people to engage and raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested in your product or service or whatever. But so like with that, we are used to someone saying, "Hey, I'm ready to buy. Let me talk to you. Here's a quote. You can sign. Boom, we're ready to go." But whenever ones are not quite ready for that, people that are so ingrained in kind of the inbound motion don't really know how to nurture a lead very, very well. Um, like so people that have to source their own leads and are fully outbound, like they know how to get someone from point A to point B, which is a buying decision. So I would say that is often a weakest link is like, yeah, we're so used to people saying, "Hey, I'm ready to buy," that when they're not ready to buy, we don't really know what to do with that. Like I admit that as myself. Like that's a huge thing that I've had to learn. And like prospecting and like nurturing leads and things like that. Um, so I would say that's probably the biggest thing, along with, of course, there's always going to be like CRM kind of messiness. If we don't even have like a perfectly clean CRM, and this is what we do for our job. So like I can't imagine that every company in the world also has a clean CRM. So that's also a factor too.
Right. Especially in the B2B sales cycle where it's so long. Um,
Yeah.
and especially manufacturing, I feel like it's even harder to keep a clean CRM, but also to
Yeah.
have it set up in a way and structured in a way that makes that follow-up easier.
Mhm.
Um, for people who maybe they're not in the sales side of things, but they're listening here, what common excuses that teams give for not following up quickly? And I'm sure the people listening are like shouting at their phone wherever they're listening, saying, look,
Yeah.
they've heard a million of them.
Mhm.
Uh, what are the common ones, and, like, which would you say actually hold water? Like, which ones are legitimate excuses or reasons, that might indicate, like, a process adjustment change that needs to happen or are just
Mhm.
roadblocks that need to be cleared?
Yeah. Um, probably the biggest like legitimate um reason for saying that like follow-up isn't happening or something like that is when like the lead is just like straight spam, like, the amount of times that I've gotten a ping from a contact form that's been filled out and the email address is your mom 1234 at Yahoo, and it's just like sick,
Right.
awesome.
Right.
Um, so like there has to be space in our reporting to account for that kind of stuff. So like when you mark a lead as disqualified, make sure you mark that as spam because then we could go like, okay, we need to actually fix our forms. So we're getting less of this kind of stuff. Um, But one thing, this is a real thing that I heard a rep say, and I get to where they were coming from. But they said, I would rather focus on customers that are trying to give me money now than people that potentially might give me money later.
Mm.
Um, and I understand like logically what they're saying. Like I've got these 15 deals in my pipeline that are, almost to a buy-in decision. I'm going to focus my energy on them and meeting with them and, all that kind of stuff. But then kind of the other side of that is like, what are you going to do when those close? Like,
Right.
then you don't have, um, which, these particular reps were used to a system where they had an SDR that was warming up leads for them, getting them ready, and then passing them off. So, and then that system changed to where like
Mm.
then the sales rep was responsible for nurturing and following up with their lead, getting them ready, and then going. So like part of it was also a practice thing,
Yeah.
uh, because he was so used to just being like everyone's ready to buy when I get them. Um,
Must be nice. Man, that's a heck of a setup.
really did. And we're seeing less and less organizations be set up that way now, especially um, with AI tools that can help you research companies and do better follow up. Um, but yeah, I would say that one necessarily um, is a good reason. Um, or just like yeah, just like this is taking me away from selling
Yeah.
with the thought process that selling is just closing things rather than selling is all of the other stuff that comes
Yeah,
with.
a bigger picture of
Yeah,
nurturing, moving along, things like that. To that point, for that sales guy or girl who was like, "Yep, no, I'd rather focus on the ones that are ready now than the ones ready later." Say business dries up, things slow down. How much harder is it to close a lead that's been sitting untouched for days, weeks, months, than someone who's at least freshly engaged
yeah,
with the company?
yeah. I'd say it's a lot harder. Because like I said, like it could be that you know it's no like even if it's not a priority for them when they're looking, you're at least staying top of mind throughout that whole process. Whereas if you wait too long, either you're not top of mind and that project isn't a thing anymore and you just don't know, so you're wasting your time, or they found another solution. Because most companies, especially when they're, looking for industrial equipment, capital equipment, things like that, they typically have to get a couple of quotes for their like buying process. Like it's just like part of their corporate setup. They can't just go with the first quote that they get. So if you're slow on the draw, they've probably gotten all their quotes already. So like then you're convincing them like, hey, at least let us bid, and they might not want you to, or then you are, or like worst case, or maybe the other one's worst case. This is also a bad case. Um, but then there's a chance that then you're becoming the compulsory third quote that they have to get to
Right.
to formalize everything, but they've already decided of another company they want to go with. So you're kind of putting yourself behind by not getting in early, even if um the buying decision isn't necessarily at that exact moment. Because then you're also playing like with desperation tactics, and people are really good at sniffing out sales talk. Um, it's just part of the world we live in now. So you have to start building that relationship early whenever people first convert so that whenever it comes time that is there. Because if you're coming in with used car salesman talk, there's like, I don't trust this guy. Who is this guy? Like, you
Right.
know,
They may not even remember when they originally
yeah,
submitted. If it's been enough time, they're like, "Who are you? Where did you come from? Like,
right.
who are
Yeah.
you?"
Or like even like I think about like trade show leads and like ones that it's like I had a really great conversation with this guy at the booth. I'm gonna follow up with them, but when you get back, you maybe follow up once or twice, which is probably when he's traveling back from the show. He missed your email, um, and then you call him like 6 weeks later, And he's like, "Who are you?" So a lot of it is just kind of building that relationship and like not overwhelming them with
Right.
contact, but creating something like establishing something to where they're familiar with who you are and what you do, so that whenever they are ready to make a decision, you're starting on second base, maybe third base,
Right.
best case scenario.
And to your point, building that relationship is providing helpful materials. It kind of
Yeah,
ties back in a lot of the times to some of the inbound philosophies where it's like you can't just always be like, "Hey, you wanna buy?" Like, just
yeah,
reaching out, reaching out. Being able to be like, "Hey, I remembered that at the trade show we talked about the fact that you're struggling to get leads. Here's a guide that our team put together. Yeah, you might be interested in it." And
yeah,
kind of
for
as
sure.
much as possible, tailoring it and providing that information, um, as you can. It just helps to kind of give them something too, so that the relationship can actually truly be a relationship and not
Right,
just
exactly.
yelling
Because
into the void.
once you have them as a customer, you want to maintain that customer relationship ideally. Like you don't want to just like have them buy once and then move on. Like if you make equipment, you want them to always come to you for equipment. So like yeah, during that follow-up process, sending them things that add value to them. So whether that's information or a resource or just like a helpful thing with like no catches involved, just being like, "Hey, I think this is helpful," and like genuinely like doing that um goes a long way um towards, yeah, like I said, building that relationship.
Yeah, that's awesome. So on the flip side of things, we talked about the last couple of questions have all been about kind of leads just kind of going untouched because of follow up and things like that. Let's go back to your other point of bad processes, bad CRM
Mhm.
systems, things like that. How often do you see leads fall through the cracks simply because the CRM just isn't set up or maintained properly? And that can be even calling out our own mediums, but because I know that it's been around for forever, and so with that comes mess.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I'd say that's, I don't know of a full like percentage split, but yeah, this is a big culprit, the CRM part. Um, because like it's still surprising to me that we are in 2026 and the amount of folks that their CRM is just an Excel sheet. It's just like if you're making that work, awesome, but like there's a better way. Um, so like, and with that is like when they do get into a CRM, they don't always you know set up everything properly.
Right.
Um, I met someone recently who, I don't know how they did this, how they got around it, but they onboarded their HubSpot using ChatGPT. Um, which I'm like, you're supposed to like pay for onboarding. How'd you
Right.
anyways,
All right.
I didn't ask too many questions.
Sure.
So but so yeah, one of the biggest culprits there is like leads not being routed. So whenever someone converts on the website, that just kind of like sits in a pile, whether rather than like having like automation or workflows that will assign them to the right person. So whether that's by territory or by product type or lots of different things,
Yeah.
So we have a demo that we set up where it's for a machinery distributor. They've got 5 different locations. They've got a rep over each location. Whenever someone converts on the website, it looks at, what store is closest to them or like what state they're in. And then it kind of route trees that way and says like, okay, you're in Iowa, you're going to go to this guy. You're in Illinois, you're going to go to this guy, and that kind of thing. And that kind of takes a lot of the manual effort from the sales leader off their plate to where they're not having to go through all the leads each day and then move
Right.
things through. But then that also helps keep things moving really quickly because as soon as that lead converts, it's getting assigned rather than at the end of the day, the manager's having to go through and be like, all right, I got to sort these 50 leads. And then they've been sitting for a day.
Right.
So, and that way, the rep is getting the notification so they can respond quickly. Um, and then it's up to the rep to actually respond quickly. Um, and then I'd say I'll probably bring this up a few times. We're partners with Supered. We've talked about Supered on here before. I think you talked about it with Vicky.
Yep.
Um, we love Supered, but like using a platform like that to create process requirements and process rules for that lead follow up process. So, you know, kind of like I had mentioned, a lot of sales teams don't necessarily have a very clean, like, here's how you get a lead from, you know, prospect to opportunity. And having, process rules that say, like, it's been 2 days since there's been any activity, reach out again. Or like, hey, there's no meeting scheduled, or things like that can go a long way in, you know, making sure things don't slip through the cracks. That's not necessarily like a CRM setup thing. That's an additional tool. But I think that would also help a lot of people standardize things so that things do keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like while it's not necessarily CRM tool, it's a way to get it to function,
Mhm.
so that there's less human error. I mean, I
Yeah.
think even if you have the smartest, the best, the brightest sales team, there's still going to be, even if it's not true human error, just true human differences in how they're logging things, how they're putting things together. And so those processes that can help kind of put those guide rails up and keep everything standard across the board,
Mhm.
that helps if there's turnover internally. That helps with, just keeping things running smoothly and increasing the speed at which they don't have to think about what they're moving this under or logging these contacts
Mhm.
as, or anything like that. They don't have to think about it. Their brain's freed up to remember, "Oh, I wanna make sure that I get these calls in, or I wanna make sure that this email follow-up's tweaked." It gives the team time back in their day to focus on those more important items that
Yeah.
convert to sales.
Right.
Um
Yeah, and that's one of the things where automation does go a long way. Like when people started, I know for myself personally, like 6, 7 years ago when I first was kind of introduced to like automated email and like all that kind of stuff for leads. I was like, oh great, this does my job for me. I don't have to send another email again. Whereas like that's not the point of it. The point is to take some of the more menial tasks off of you so you can do, like you said, or focus on personalization, like meaningful outreach. Um, but then you're not having to remember like, oh, I need to set another task to call them in 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some telltale signs would you say that a company has poor CRM hygiene? Like what would, like, if someone out there listening is like, I think we might have bad CRM hygiene. I'm not entirely sure. What are
Yeah.
some signs that they could hop in there, look for, and be like, oh, yep, it's not
Yeah.
not performing the way that we'd want it to.
Yeah. One of the first things is either no activity on a lead or it's been a long time.
Mm.
So like if a lead has been sitting there, it's been in the initial deal stage, whatever you or initial like life cycle stage, whatever your company calls it. Um, if it's been sitting in that first one for 3 months and no one's touched it, bad sign. Or like you go in there and it's like, oh, it's been moved to attempting as the life cycle stage, but it's been in attempting for 6 months. Like maybe we take a look and see what's happening there. There are some where that's totally normal. Um, but then also like leads not being assigned to an owner because then that's just a missed opportunity because if it's not assigned to an owner, then that salesperson doesn't know, hey, I need to look at this.
Right.
So it's just sitting there. Um, so those are kind of the two like biggest things that I kind of look for is like, are these being routed properly? And if they are they actually having activity to where they can move on to the next thing? And if, it is decided like, hey, this leads a bad fit, or, they were just getting more information, they're not interested in buying, or, if you're an engineering firm or like a equipment manufacturer and you're getting college students that are trying to do their homework, downloading their stuff, they're not buyers. If they are still in the leads dashboard, they need to be marked as unqualified and cleared out because they're not actual buyers. So like, yeah, mark your unqualified things as unqualified, clear it out. just do that each day.
Absolutely. We beg that, especially in the marketing side of things because we wanna know what's working, what's not working. Like, we want it like,
Right.
if a ton of college students are filling out a resource that we created, well, great, that's a means it's educational at least, which is one of the goals,
Yeah.
but how can we tailor it, make it a little bit more specific so it's not just the college students submitting it, making sure that we're having a healthy balance there, and if it isn't, investigating it, fixing it, adapting it,
Mhm.
finding ways to make it so that it is reaching your true audience because again, that's why we're doing it. So the more data that we can get from the sales team correctly marketing the leads, the better the outcomes longer term, and higher the quality of leads. It's
Yeah.
always hard to hear from a marketing side, like, oh, like these leads, like the quality's not there. And sometimes that requires digging into, and it's not always the case. Like, sometimes there are quality leads there, but a lot of times, um, there's not, and that is a sign that we need to pivot. We need to figure out where these are coming from. As you mentioned earlier, updating the forms. I know spam this year more than ever, especially on the paid ad side of things, we saw tons of spam coming in, and the sooner people could tell us about it, the better, because then we could put in
Mhm.
place, we have things that we can do through HubSpot,
Yeah.
through other farm systems that helps to limit that so that there's not so much noise. Because again, we don't want a whole CRM getting clogged up, with
Right.
these poor fit leads because that makes it harder for the team to then talk to the leads that are of high value. Um,
Exactly.
and it's also just kinda discouraging. Like, "Oh, cool,
Yeah.
lead, like, you wanna follow up with?" And like, "Nope, another
Nope.
spam." Like, it's
Yeah.
just not good for anyone's morale.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, to your
Now,
point.
one thing I will say along with that to encourage folks is even if it does look like spam, doesn't necessarily mean it is. Um,
Yeah,
like we've got people that we're talking to that their business email is a Gmail, and it's really easy to just be like, whatever. But no, sometimes that's real. So, but again,
that's a good point.
that's where like again, marking things and reporting is very important, so you can know that. Um, because if not, yeah, then it could just be like a blanketed, like if it's not a business email, it's not going into the CRM.
Right.
Because majority of them sometimes are. Um, yeah. So looking at your data on your leads is very important so that you can pivot. Going back, that's also probably one thing that a lot of teams don't do is actually look at their strategy behind this and then actually like changing it on like a
Yeah.
quarterly basis. They're just like, this is how we get leads. Go get them. And it's like, well, if you're going to change your marketing strategy, maybe also change like some of the ways that those get into the system too.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, use the time to look at it holistically and continue to update because I think we see it a lot of the times too of even some of our legacy clients where it's like, okay, the CRM was set up great. For a
mhm,
while, it was operating perfect. And then just as more people get added, as more noise is in there, it gets jammed, it gets clogged. We get new salespeople coming in, older salespeople retiring or leaving for other opportunities. And then you start to see it kind of slowly fall off the wagon. And so if you're doing those quarterly check-ins, what's working, what's not working, then you can kind of catch that before it gets too far down
right.
the
Yeah.
middle of despair, so to
Yeah.
speak. So
Yeah, exactly. And that also helps you like see that like, oh, this thing that's been working for a long time isn't working as well as it used to. Why is that?
right.
Yeah.
That is such a good point. I agree that a lot of times it's not always being updated. So I know earlier you mentioned workflows doing some of the initial
Mhm.
routing. Any other workflows that you can think of that help dramatically improve follow up without adding more work for the reps?
Yeah. So I know I kind of talked about how it's really easy to default to I'm gonna let automation do everything for me.
Mhm.
But there are some cases where like if it's a specific type of lead or a specific like they downloaded this sort of thing where it might make sense to like auto enroll that person in a sequence um to go ahead and do that. I don't think you should blanket do that for every lead. But it could be helpful in some cases
Yeah.
to help kind of slowly nurture them. If it's a type of lead that communicates, hey, they're earlier in their buyer's journey. So if they're still very much in that, I'm just trying to get information. Um, so like if you're an equipment manufacturer and you have, specification sheets on equipment, um, and they download like 15 of those. Like they're probably just like getting a bunch of information together. So like that could be a situation where it's like, let's put them like automatically into a sequence so that they can start getting warmed up. And then you could even do it as HubSpot has a thing called dynamic sequences to where um, everything is automated. But if, say, they open your email 3 times and they click on a link twice, that shows enough engagement for HubSpot to then assign you a manual task to call them or to message them on LinkedIn or something like that. Um, so that's one instance where you have a workflow that says like, all right, they download a lead, assign them to an owner, enroll them in sequence, and then all that happens in the background, so the rep isn't having to worry about it. I've seen that work a handful of times. Um, but then yeah, again, just a simple one is just like notify whoever the owner should be that they have a new lead to follow up with. So like that example I said earlier, where it went through the route tree, saw what store, assigned it to a rep. That rep then got a email that said, "Hey, you got a new lead. Go look at this." So like that goes a long way in just making sure things don't sit for too long.
Yeah. Oh, that is awesome. All right. I think one of the big things that we see is a misconception around companies that have that automation.
Mhm.
How do they continue to maintain personal follow up? I think there's sometimes a disconnect there where they're using that. They're like, great, all on board with the automation. Let's go. And then
Yeah,
they're missing some of that personalization.
yeah,
What would you say? Like, how can they balance that? What does that look like? And
yeah.
any advice for companies? Because it is a hard balance.
It is, and people are really good about sniffing out when it's just a catch-all email.
Yeah.
Um, so like, how do we automate to make things easier for the rep, but still to where the person receiving that email doesn't send it immediately to spam.
Right.
So like I said, like I'm victim of this as well, where I'm just like, I'm just gonna drop them in a sequence, just hope for the best. But I'd say one thing, like you could still use automation and create those sequences and all that kind of stuff, but have manual tasks in there to make sure that you are like doing your due diligence to research the company into what they do, what their pain point might be, how the thing that they looked at on your website relates to what they could be doing. Um, so, like one example of this from me yesterday, we had someone convert on our website and downloaded some information around follow up after trade shows. So I looked them up on LinkedIn, saw that they were at a trade show last week. So then in my first email, I can say like, "Hey, thanks for downloading these email templates. Saw that you were at this trade show last week. Hope these are helpful for you. If you want to talk more about how we can help create a better strategy, let's chat." And then from there, like the rest of the sequence just kind of automates itself. So it's assigning me call tasks whenever I need to call, or if there are like typically my I'll do a manual email, a phone call, and then an automated email, and that automated email is just replying back to the first one that says like, "Hey, bumping this in case you didn't see it." Like it's not any new messaging, but it's just like they probably didn't see the first email. Who opens the
Right.
first email?
They could have been coming back from their trade show.
Right,
Stuff.
exactly. So
Or
this is
settling back in because
yeah.
how that goes.
Oh my gosh, the first 3 days after a trade show, nuts. Um, but that's where automation is helpful because it could take a lot of that thinking off of your plate, but then still having those manual tasks in there. Um, but then also, like, don't fall into the trap that personalization is saying, like, companies in automotive equipment manufacturing struggle with, like, they can tell. Like,
Right.
so, like, take a few extra seconds to actually write a sentence like you would talk. Um, And
That should be the clip of this. The question is fixing the follow-up. Why did these leads fail? And the clip should just be you create a sentence that sounds like how you would actually talk.
that's just like,
That's perfect.
like, yeah, and like, this isn't about AI, but this is about AI. Stop having AI write your emails. Just stop it. Uh, like,
Forgetting that everyone's getting them all the time. No one wants another AI written email. They don't
no,
need it.
no, they don't. Um, so I do this. I have AI help me. Like, I'll say, like, these are the things that I'm wanting to say. Put this in a coherent paragraph, and then I'll use that to actually write the email. Don't
Right.
just copy and paste that into an email. Cap soapbox done. Um, so yeah, just like do the research into the company, personalize it, and also just like, yeah, like I said, like, talk like you would talk. Be funny, like, make a joke. Like, just because this is a business email doesn't mean like you have to be like like super formal and like all this kind of stuff. People value authenticity. People value you as a person. Like they want to have an interaction like with you, not like some like we're doing all of our calls over Zoom and Google Meet now anyways. So like there's already a level of impersonalization already
Mm.
because of that. So if you can take an extra step to create relationship through personality, that goes a long way. So use the automation to set the steps for you, but then because you're not having to think, take those, I mean, 3 to 4 minutes. Like, you're saying you don't have 3 to 4 minutes? Like, come,
Right.
like,
Well, it's also it's more respectful of the prospect's time as well.
oh,
Like those 3 to 4 minutes, like add value. It ties back into what you're saying of building that relationship, but also like they're busy, you're busy, like we're all busy, but
yeah,
like 3 to 4 minutes to be a human and to like put that personality into that means a lot because again,
right.
everyone's inundated with messages that are very clearly written by AI and
Hmm.
everyone can tell. I think for a little while there was a short period of time where the people who could tell were primarily the people using the software, but it's getting to the point now where it's very, very obvious
It
what's
is.
written by a chat and what's not. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
um yeah, to your point, just having anything that can make you you
Hmm.
is great. And it's crazy that we're at the point where we have to like say that and remind
I
people
know.
of it.
It's absolutely wild. Um, but like even if you don't want to have to go and write every email fresh each time, whenever you're enrolling someone in a sequence, it'll show you the emails that are going to be sent if they are automated, and you can edit from there.
Yeah.
So like you still can have all of this be automated where you're not having to think, oh, I need to go send this email or check off a task in my task queue. Like you could still do all that and then have HubSpot automatically send it. So there are still automations you can use, but then when you're enrolling them in the sequence, that's when you do that in that personalization work. But it also could be worth your time just to, you know, have a couple of manual emails that make you go in there in the middle of the sequence to engage a little bit more or look in to see like, okay, they've opened all the emails, but they're not responding. Maybe I can try something different here.
Right.
Um, so yeah.
I think it's also perfect for people who maybe they'd respond did before, but they haven't responded in a while.
Mhm.
Kind of touching back on any past conversations or
Yeah.
messages that you have from them to try to, spur that and reopen it. Cause it could just be that the timing's not right. And
Yeah.
again, people are more likely to respond to someone who they know is a human and is like they don't want to let you, Justin, down. Like you're a great guy. I was like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
but like they might be fine letting your AI personality down.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
doesn't a robot doesn't hit the same. Like,
No, it doesn't. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Um, I feel like there's something else I was going to say, but I forgot.
right? I'm sure like we're big.
Yeah.
Last two questions that we have again go back to the whole topic of the discussion where we're discussing how do we fix the follow-up. So the first one would be if a company could fix one thing in their CRM today to stop wasting leads, what would you say it would be?
Yeah. So I'm gonna plug Supered again. Uh, I think that is a super helpful resource for standardizing process to where your process is not just a 150-page Word document that's sitting in a Google Drive because secrets out, your reps are not reading that. It
Right.
can be a well-intentioned thing, but if your sales rep is thinking, okay, what is my third step when I'm following up on a lead? Let me go pull up that document. No, they're either going off on their own and hoping for the best, or they're just not doing it.
Right.
So a tool like Super can go a long way in enforcing behavior to where it actually becomes regular. Um, but then the second thing would be just like setting up that lead routing stuff,
Mhm.
like defining what your life cycle stages are according to your buying process, and then setting up all that routing so that um, speed to lead is faster. Um, because there's like research that shows that like I think it's within like 5 minutes of a lead converting, like I forgot the percentage, but the percentage of response is like astronomically higher.
Yeah.
Um, which there have been times where I've seen like people have had their workflow set up almost too instantaneously to where it's almost just like, whoa, like it's freaking buyers out.
Right.
Um, but yeah, like, but having that automation set up so you can quickly start the conversation is really, really important. So just like if you need help setting that up, come talk to us. Like you're happy to help you um have everything set up properly so that you're not losing these deals. Because you're paying a lot of money for your marketing strategy and your marketing implementation. So like you don't want to go to waste just because someone didn't see it.
Right.
Um, so those would be the two biggest things, like standardize your process, enforce your process, and then also let the technology that you're paying for work for you. Like if you're paying for, I think I may have used this last time we talked. If you're paying for a Ferrari, you don't want to keep it at 35 miles an hour. Like
Right.
let that baby roar. Like
Yeah, no, such a good analogy. And I think we see it a lot too, and it's hard on the marketing side, as well to like kind of hear like, oh, we have two, like we've heard it a few times, and like it always sounds like a humble brag because it's like, well, we have so many leads, it's so hard to follow up.
yeah.
And whenever I hear that, like a little light bulb goes off, and it's like, well, how are you currently using the systems? Because ideally, sometimes truly, yes, it is a team growth standpoint, like, you're growing faster than you can keep up with, and that I totally
Mhm.
understand, but there's also so many times where it's like, "Well, what does the current process look like?" And it's like a process that lives in Jim, the sales guy's head that he
Right.
created 30 years ago, and it's
Exactly.
working well. Jim's a genius, but Bobby, who you just hired, doesn't have Jim's playbook because it doesn't live anywhere. And so,
Exactly.
to your point, the supered, tools really, really help, and also having just some of that routing set up and using the
Mhm.
existing, tools to their full potential. I think we see that all the time where they have it, they're paying for it, and they're just not fully using it.
Right. Exactly. Or like you talked about, like it's living in old guy's head. Maybe his process is taking too long. Maybe he doesn't have too many leads. Maybe it's just like his process, like he's doing more research than he needs to.
Right.
Like you don't have to like sit here for an hour and read up on their stock whatever from last quarter, or like how many people they've hired, or like anything like that. Like you could do this quickly. So like let the system speed that up for you as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
that's such a good point. Alright, and then finally, have you seen examples where fixing the follow-up alone significantly improves, close rates, performance, sales, things like that?
Yeah, for sure. So there's one rep that I know of who, um, there was a specific kind of download on their website that they kind of discounted as like these aren't really like good leads. Like uh, it was a spec sheet on a particular product, and it's just like if people are downloading these, they're really not anything. Like I'll follow up if that same person also fills out a contact form asking about it or something like that. But then eventually they figured out kind of what I was talking about earlier, where it's like, I don't have any pipeline. So they started following up everything the same. And then one of those spec sheets ended up turning into $1 million deal that they actually sold. And spoiler alert, that rep was me at my last job. So,
Yay.
so yeah, like I've
That's very
seen
cool.
it work firsthand when you treat like your leads with intentionality,
Right.
that things will actually happen. And like it's not going to be 100% success rate. Like most companies, if they've got like a 30% closed won rate, they're like, we are killing, you know? So like not every lead is going to turn into a conversation. Not every lead is going to turn into a quote. But if you actually do your due diligence on each one that you get, you can get $1 million.
So awesome. That must have felt incredible.
Oh my gosh.
That win must have been like,
I almost took off running off out of the building.
yeah, no, like confetti poppers,
Oh
like
my
the
gosh.
whole
Yeah.
nine. So that's awesome. Very cool. All right. Well, you're an old timer here, so you know that we're gonna enter our speed round here. For those listening for the first time, it's a love it, hate it, indifferent. I'm gonna throw out phrases, things, ideas, and Justin's gonna say whether he loves it, he hates it, or he's indifferent to it. So we'll start off with automated thanks for reaching out emails sent instantly after form fills.
Um,
I know it's a hard one.
indifferent.
Okay.
If done well, love it.
Right.
Yeah,
Sales reps manually tracking follow-ups in spreadsheets.
hate it. Hate it. Talk to me about HubSpot.
Me?
We'll get you.
Leads sitting in the CRM with no owner assigned.
Hate it.
Very sad.
Easy fix.
Generic nurture emails over persona-based follow-ups.
I'm gonna lean hate it on this one.
Sales getting notified every time any form is filled out anywhere on the site.
I'm gonna lean love it. And hear
Yeah.
me out. I'd rather have more information than none.
Right. Yeah.
I'd rather go there and see, okay, I don't need to do anything with that than for someone to have filled the form out and I didn't see it.
Right. And
So
it's missed.
that's my own personality. Some people are wanting to smash their laptop when that happens.
Fair
I'm
enough.
Yeah.
I made these ones harder, I think, this time where they're like
Yeah.
very nuanced.
Yeah.
Alright.
And I also feel much more grumpy this time. I'm saying I hate it a lot.
That's all right. I think I worded. I think maybe I was pessimistic putting it together.
That's okay.
All right. Multiple sales reps accidentally contacting the same lead.
Hate it. That's
Yeah.
again easily fixable, but happens a lot.
Yeah, I know. It's such a pit too, because it's like, oh, because the lead is probably like, there's no organization here.
Yeah.
What is this? I letting marketing automation handle early stage follow up.
I'd say love it on that one. Just if it is very early stage, just to kind of keep it like let the salesperson focus on selling.
Yeah. I think a lot of times
Contradiction the
people
stuff I said earlier.
I think a lot of times people expect almost like an instant follow-up, at least saying like, "Hey, we got your message. Someone will be
Yeah.
with you shortly."
Yeah,
But
exactly.
in this world, people are ready for it. All right, disqualifying leads without ever contacting them.
Hate it. Hate it. Which is a very like black and white way of looking at it, but at least like try before you disqualify. Unless again, blatant spam with it.
Right. Using lead score alone to decide who gets followed up with.
Um I'm in between hate it and indifferent. Lead score is helpful, but doesn't necessarily always paint the full picture. Um, so again, in the clear instances where they are a bad fit, use lead score. Um, but if not, yeah, so in between on two on that one.
Fair enough. Phone calls over email as the first follow-up.
I'm indifferent on that one. This might just be my introverted nature, but I'd rather have like a softball out there so that they know who I am, so that when I call, I can at least say, "Hey, I sent you an email."
Right.
So I'm not just some random guy. At least I'm a random guy that sent him an email. Uh,
No, there's a difference.
yeah, yeah, unadjusted.
One perfect follow-up versus multiple imperfect ones.
I'm going multiple imperfect ones. It goes back to that people want to see your personality. They value authenticity. Um, little secret. Sometimes I intentionally misspell things in subject lines because I know it'll get people to click. Um,
Ooh, that's kinda
mhm,
diabolical, but it does work. I was going to bring up if you didn't, like, feel like we always see, like, minor like, harmless misspellings in emails, subject lines often kind of blow up on social media, like, "Oh, the intern sent this out," and there's that kind of
mhm.
sense of, like, it's human again, it's human, so people are drawn to it. Everyone has that, it's like, "How did that get spelled so wrong?" Or,
Right,
"Where did, like
exactly.
how did this harmless mistake happen?" Because, again, we are human, and that
Yeah,
makes it relatable.
100%. Or like those Loom videos that I was talking about. Like I always try to keep them under a minute, but sometimes I like flub my words or I'll stutter or I'll say something wrong or whatever. I'm just like, you know what? Keep it. It's fine. Like if I was talking to them in a live conversation, this is how it would go. So why does my like outreach need to be absolutely perfect?
Right.
Like I saw the same session at Inbound where I learned about this kind of stuff. The way that they talk about it is keep it YouTube, not Hollywood.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, that's actually super helpful.
And it
Um,
makes sense too, because if you think about it, like, AI is getting better and better. It's not gonna be long until it can mimic someone
oh
talking
yeah.
on a video and,
Mhm.
it look pretty real. It's already doing that in some cases. There's every time I'm scrolling on social media, I'll see I'll see some like see these
Yeah.
like crazy like bear videos and I'm like, "Wow, that's nuts." And I'm like,
Right.
"That bear's not real. That's not a
How's
real
that?
bear."
How's that dog making tacos? That's crazy. Like,
Right,
yeah,
exactly. And like I've gotten got a few times and like I feel like I'm relatively media literate, but
yeah,
it's
it's
getting
good.
crazy. So I think having those human moments, as you said, what will be really scary is when AI starts to imitate human moments,
Yeah.
which I don't think we're far off from, but let's not think about that today.
Let's not think about it.
Why bring
Well,
the day down?
yep, yep, yep.
All right, last one and probably most important, University of Kentucky football.
I could talk about this. We'll be talking for what, 50 minutes? I could talk
Right.
another 50 minutes about this, but I'm not going to. I'm excited. It's going to be a good year. New head coach. People are saying it's a top 10 class coming in. Some people are saying we're going to be the next Indiana. I'm not there yet, but let's
Hey,
go. I'm excited.
exciting times.
Yes, very exciting times.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Justin, for your
Yeah,
time
of
today.
course.
This
Thanks
was
for having me.
again a ton of fun. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. If anyone has any questions, feedback, um, anything for Justin and I, please head over to protocol80.com or shoot an email at info@protocol80.com. And stay tuned. If you liked hearing Justin talk, we have some exciting news coming soon where you'll probably get to hear more of Justin talk. So,
Oh, yeah.
woo! Awesome. All right. Thanks again, Justin.
Thanks.